How's it going, friends? So, what I'd like to do today is let's discuss what's going on overseas, right? Things kind of calm down for now here domestically, but there's a lot of stuff we need to be looking out for overseas that could eventually either disrupt our supply chain or make its way to us. I'll be right back, and let's talk about some of these things. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Roaming Prepper channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And by all means, if during the premiere or afterward you have any questions that I can try to answer, please feel free to let me know. I'm always happy to try and have a dialogue. And that includes people who may have a contrary view. You know, we're all civilized human beings here. And if you're not, I'll kick you. So that happens too. But anyway, on to the topic. What's been going on internationally? Let's talk about this. So right now, as we all know, Russia is basically trying to gobble up parts, if not all, of the Ukraine. This has been going on since the beginning of 2022. What we're also paying attention to is China's continuing rhetoric about how they want to reclaim Taiwan and make it their own. It's to the point that on at least 2 different news stations, I've seen Taiwanese civilians going through tactical training with Taiwanese and American weapons instructors, kind of like we would here in Arizona or Texas, you know, go to the ranch and learn tactical stuff. But they're doing it, whole towns are doing it because they expect to get invaded. They truly do. Now, up until recently, I would think Putin's not going to push past past Ukraine, because that would just become a complete boondoggle for them logistically. They're going to fight it out in Ukraine. They want parts of it for whatever their motivations are. And I didn't see China making a move into Taiwan for large reasons, due to the fact that, 1, Taiwan is allied with the United States, and 2, there is an increasingly powerful Japan saying, don't do it, because I know if you go after them, you'll come after us too, and we'll hit you back. Then we have this last week. Okay, so that was the week of July 4th. In one successive week, we had Boris Johnson, who has been the most vocal person in Europe against Putin's aggression, against Russian expansion, also had warned NATO to be careful of who they admit. And he had to step down, allegedly because either he or someone in his circle had a sexual misconduct charge of some type. I don't know all the details behind the scandal, but I do know his cabinet resigned, so he had to step down, and so they have to now find a new prime minister. I'm not super familiar with the parliamentary style of governance, but I do know that once the prime minister resigns, you basically have to redo the whole cabinet. Not that same week, not 72 hours after that was announced, former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe from Japan is assassinated by a member of the military who had left the service, apparently, who is in a country that basically bans firearms. The guy made his own homemade weaponry and was able to successfully kill one of the most powerful people in that part of the world and one of the most influential. Shinzo, or Prime Minister Abe, was the equivalent of Boris Johnson, but he was vocal against China. So all of a sudden, America's losing all of her friends, right? Boris Johnson had to step down. Macron might get run over by Le Pen. I don't know how that's all working. They have their own issues over there. But Boris Johnson was the bulwark against what Russia was doing, and he's now stepped down. At the same time, we've lost, even though he was a former prime minister, in the same week, not even a few days later, the man who has been pushing Japanese politics for over 2 decades to be prepared to deal with China as an aggressive threat gets killed. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I like to look at it mathematically. If you have one incidence, you just have a point. That doesn't tell you anything. You have 2 dots, now you can draw a straight line. Now you have a trend. If you have more than 2 dots, you definitely have a trend. So you think about that. 1 point of information is 1 dot. 2 dots is a line. You can kind of draw a line between them, but you get more than those 2 dots, now you've got a trend. And now we're seeing that trend manifest itself. So at the same time, we now have Egypt declaring hyperinflation. Argentina's on the verge of it, if they haven't already fallen into it. We've got riots in Ecuador, and Sri Lanka's economy is pretty much collapsing as we speak. These are not small economies, folks. Argentina, Sri Lanka, they're not India, China, and the US, but they're not small. They're contributors. They're important in the larger scheme of things, and they're indicative of a greater geopolitical problem. But the timing of these 2 leaders getting taken down, one because of scandal, one was killed, that bothers me. Now, I could be reading too much into it. It could just be 2 very unfortunate coincidences. I think there may be more to it. Now, I don't know if this was an assassination attempt via China with a Japanese national. That would be a really long stretch. I don't think it would be in China's best interest to do something like that, because they'll get scorned by everyone, and I don't think they want that. They took enough heat because of Rona. I don't think they want to take heat because of assassinations, but you never know. And the Russians give zero shit. They'll assassinate and poison people left and right, and we know that. So we need to watch the leaders in these various countries, because there's some kind of shift going on, and I can't put my finger on it. But with all these mid-level economies starting to crater at the same time, and the big ones starting to struggle, we might have a lot on our plate toward later in this year. So what's our takeaway? Well, you guys know my style. What's our takeaway? We can't obviously stop assassinations, nor can we really address things happening in Europe or countries that are not our own. What you can do, make sure, take this time while it's relatively calm in the US, go through your various levels of preparedness, whether it's your financial preps, you're checking your box of batteries, you're buying some dehydrated food, whatever it is, you're picking up MREs, cleaning your guns, cleaning up fishing reels, whatever it is you're doing, do that now. Pick a subject every week and continue to go through and continue to be systemic about your approach. Because I believe as these leaders fall away, you're going to see a lot of instability as the governments of these countries are trying to now name new leaders or try and find replacements. Shinzo was already, Prime Minister Abe was already retired, but he was very influential. He was doing a political speech when he was killed. So that speaks volumes to me that he made a lot of enemies in that part of the world. We're going to see instability, and it's going to start moving into the bigger countries. We're already seeing the Dutch, French, and Italian farmers basically clogging up the roads. They took something out of the Canadian playbook, and they're blocking up roads, but with, instead of semis and 18-wheelers, they're using tractors and lorries, as they call them, those little box trucks, and they're just clogging the shit out of everything. But we're going to see this starting to move into the larger countries. And as we get closer in the U.S. to our election this November, I'm afraid we're going to see it here, and it's going to get ugly. So put yourself in a position where if it turns sideways, you don't have to venture out in the street. You don't have to be one of those people in line to get bread, food, whatever it is, because you've got enough or most of what you need at home to where you don't have to get in those lines. If the only things you're missing are little things you can get at a corner store, as opposed to getting in line at the big box store, you did something right. And there's always going to be something you miss. So keep doing what you're doing, maintain calm, but watch what's going on, and watch China, because now they may be emboldened now that Prime Minister Abe has been killed, because he was very influential in Japan and in the Philippines as a friend of the Philippines. So let's see where that goes. Guys, until next time, God bless, Godspeed. Keep doing what you're doing. Help each other out and collaborate. As a reminder, I do now have a trading post on my Discord channel. So if you have something you want to trade or sell, you can reach out to other members of the community there. The transaction's purely between you and the other person. But, and if you're looking for something, you can reach out there and ask other people where you can find it, and you might be able to get some help. So until next time, God bless, take care, and I will see you later. Let's keep an eye on this stuff.